Shalom, family. I'm back. As y'all probably already know, YouTube struck me, put me down for a week because I said some things they didn't like. So, I took a week's vacation, but while I was off, I did a little searching and I'm coming back with a vengeance. Only this time, I'm going to be cryptic. So what does that mean for you guys? You're going to have to read between the lines because I can't afford to be struck down again. So we are going to look into the God gene and the serpent's seed. As y'all know, for thousands of years, the enemy has made many attempts to annihilate the chosen Israelites. Of course, they did not succeed, but they hasn't given up. They've tried killing us off. That didn't work. They tried throwing us overboard on the ships. That didn't work. They captivated us. We're still in captivity. They tried a whole list of ways to get rid of the chosen people. So, let's get into this. I'm going to explain some things that some of you might know, some of you may not know. Either way, I think it needs to be said. So let's start with the hidden name of our Creator, YHWH, in your DNA. Yes, it's hidden in your DNA. And this is going to make sense. So y'all bear with me. Go with me all the way to the end. The DNA is composed of 4 elements: hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, carbon. When put together, they form YHWG. Carbon is what makes us physical and earthly beings. When carbon is replaced with nitrogen, we have all colorless, odorless, and invisible gases. They form the letters YHWH, which is the name of our Creator. DNA is a carrier of specific genetic information that takes the form of a 4-character digital code. This information is contained in an arrangement of 4 chemicals that scientists represent with the letters A, C, T, and G. The sequences of these chemicals provide the instructions necessary to assemble complex protein molecules that in turn help form structures diverse as eyes, wings, and legs. The bases adenine, guanine, thymine, and cytosine form chemical pairs A-T and C-G, DNA double helix. These 4 elements point to YHWH. When you take the intervals of A-D-T-C-G and convert the interval number to letters, it spells the name of our Creator, YHWH. This presentation is going to be dealing with venom, snake fangs. Don't worry, you're going to understand where I'm going in just a few minutes. But I wanted you to take a look at this. You see these fangs right here? Those can be referred to as needles or pointy device. But what happens when a snake bites you? It injects the venom into the flesh or into the bloodstream. This is also a snake bite. Bet you didn't see that coming. There is a war for the soul of mankind. Considering it all good fun to surreptitiously extinguish a C-1-9 serpent bite. Now, remember when I told y'all to be cryptic? Read between the lines. C-1-9 serpent bite recipients' religious nature and innate yearning for spiritual truth. It's of paramount importance to unravel the intricacies of the bite delivery system. Cryptic, the bite. Remember the bite? Remember the bite? Intricacies of the bite delivery system. How it's given to you, so to speak. It represents the culmination of many decades of highly secretive biowarfare research waged against humankind. However, it is the serpent C-O-1-9 pandemic itself that has served as the catalyst for exposing this nefarious plot. This is the true reason the globalist cabal is determined to mandate a universal C-1-9 bite program. Remember cryptic. Cryptic. While being promoted as a purported cure for SARS-CoV-2, the virus causing the snakebite pandemic. The real reason for the serpent's bite is the suppression of the vesicular monoamine transporter, which is VMAT2- That's the God gene. DARPA dreams up mRNA gene therapy to delete the God gene. A few months ago, a very revealing presentation was made by a U.S. bioweapon scientist who was well versed in what has been dubbed as the blank X project. Cryptic. Think cryptic. What am I saying? The presentation made three main points, which anyone in attendance could have easily understood. The U.S. bioweapons program has been working on a program to devise a cryptic that is designed to immunize targeted individuals and whole populations against the God gene, aka the VMAT2 gene. Suppressing the expression of this gene has been the main goal of the U.S. bioweapon laboratories for half a century. My guess is it goes back much further than that. Ostensibly to neutralize terrorists who are motivated primarily by religious fanaticism. However, the real aim behind the operation is to inoculate people around the world against holding any spiritual beliefs or inclinations toward mystical experiences. Hence, the real purpose for the bite appears to be the stunting of spiritual growth and experience. The most effective way of implementing a VMAT2 serpent bite program is under the guise of a cryptic designed to combat a respiratory virus which could be secretly released on any city, nation, or region of the world without the target population's knowledge. The plan consists of aerosol spraying a target population, which is similar to what we are seeing with the dissemination of chemical trails or chemtrails over large population centers. This would effectively circumvent the resistance of populations. With a strong resistance to snake bite, this right here, I can't say it, snake bites, this right here, religious cultures are particularly prone to skepticism over the efficacy of this right here as a communicable disease prophylaxis, and even whether they are genuine, this right here, pandemic cover for prepping society to accept the Antichrist. It appears that the COVID-19, this right here, or Funvax, is a bioweapon that has been surreptitiously released on target populations around the world through various means to justify the implementation of this right here program launched ostensibly to promote the spread of this right here, but with the true aim of inoculating the population against God and spirituality through concealed VMAT2 deleting inoculants. The aim of the operation, this right here, is to signify reduced religious beliefs throughout the world, especially in countries integral to the information of one world government. The Western military powers, which have happened to be members of NATO and G20, particularly the New World Order, globalists are absolutely determined to, this right here, bite the Earth's 7.8 billion inhabitants by the end of operation, this right here. That's why they're using so many hidden technologies to deliver the VMAT2, this right here, bite, as they don't want anyone now living to survive with their God gene intact. I don't know if y'all know what that means, but if you don't, please leave some comments. Ask me and I'll explain to you in the comment sections. But I have to stay cryptic, so please read between the lines. As they don't want anyone now living to survive with their God gene intact. That is your normal blood cells. Life is in the blood. The name of your Creator is also stamped on each and every one of our blood cells. So chew on that for a minute. Amazingly, a soul-destroying, this right here, bite was prophesied over 100 years ago by one of the great prophets of the modern age, as they would say, Rudolf Steiner. Steiner warned of a sinister plot to eliminate the human soul through medicine. A prophetic claim frighteningly similar to this right here, design which has been specifically crafted to delete the VMAT2 gene, that is the God gene. Rudolf Steiner made the following prophecy seemingly related to what has transpired over the last 2 years. In the future, we will eliminate the soul with medicine. Under the pretext of a healthy point of view, there will be this right here, by which the human body will be treated as soon as possible, directly at birth, so that the human being cannot develop the thought of the existence of soul and spirit. Materialistic doctors will be entrusted with the task of removing the soul of humanity. Y'all figure this out now. I mean, I wish I could say it, but you gotta think. This is cryptic. As today people are, this right here, bitten, I substituted this word for this word. but it means the same thing. As today, people are bitten against this disease or that disease, so in the future, children will willingly accept it. Globalists plot to mandate this right here, exposes shocking satanic conspiracy. The C-19, this right here, BITE mandate, the horrifying hidden agenda. This is an open access article distributed under the terms of Creative Commons Attribution License, which permits unrestricted use, distribution, and build upon your work non-commercially. Right here, this right here, devised to delete the God gene. Volume 5, Issue 1, 2023, Timothy Spearman Cagayan, De Oro City, Philippines correspondence. Timothy Spearman Cagayan, De Oro City. I don't need all that. Now, January 3rd, 2023, abstract as events have unfolded since 2020. Many people have suspected that this right here, pandemic, is actually an operation of the globalist deep state. This is hard to dismiss when the World Economic Forum helped to fund a germ name in October 2019 called Event 201, while the WEF founder Klaus Schwab co-authored a book called COVID-19, The Great Reset. What is the reset? I'm going to expose that reset. Y'all hang in here with me. We're going to get through this, and hopefully you'll understand what I'm trying to show you. Some researchers are calling for an investigation into Operation COVID-19 and COVID-19 84. The conspirators involved have one thing in common. They have neither moral conscience nor the least empathy. They don't need to take this right here to remove the God gene from their genetics. They have been born without the God gene. You get what I'm saying? Remember, there's humans on this planet and there's not humans. They have been born without the God gene. They were already born with the God gene eviscerated from their genome. That means they were born without it. They don't have the God gene. They don't have that stamp with the YHWH. So who are they? Think about it for a minute. Who was in the garden that tempted Eve? Who is this eviscerated person that has no genome with the YHWH stamp on it? Arts and Humanities, Open Access Journals, Research Article Open Access, this right here, devised to delete the God gene. This right here is devised to delete the God gene. This right here with a substance that can be produced precisely in such a way that people, thanks to this right here, will be immune to being subjected to the madness of spiritual life. How dare them? He would be extremely smart, but he would not develop a conscience. And that is the true goal of some materialistic circles, which this right here, you can easily make the etheric body loose in the physical body. Once the etheric body is detached, the relationship between the universe and the etheric body would become extremely unstable, and man would become an automaton. For the physical body of man must be polished on this earth by spiritual will. So this right here becomes a kind of aromatic. It becomes a kind of an aromatic force. Man can no longer get rid of a given materialistic feeling. He becomes materialistic of constitution and can no longer rise to the spiritual sense. Soul placed in quarantine by mRNA, this right here, comparing Rudolf Steiner's vision of society spiritually lobotomized by this right here with what a French energetic healer had to say on the subject after treating someone that was this right here, bitten by the serpent 19, this right here. Is frightening in its conceptual concordance. Rudolf Steiner held a session with a person who had received the first and second dose of this right here. He said, I had already treated this person energetically, but I did not know that she had taken this right here. When I started the treatment, I immediately noticed a change, very heavy energy coming from their subtle body. The scariest thing was when I worked on the heart chakra, I connected with her soul. So she was detached from the physical body. She had no contact, and it was as if she was floating in a state of total confusion. Damage of the consciousness that loses contact with the physical part. So without our biological machine, there is no more communication between them. During the treatment, this soul told me that it no longer felt the body and had the impression of floating in a deep malaise. That the energy I was working with, the energy of their energy field, was very heavy, and you could feel these substances that are very stressful for the subtle body. I continued the treatment by the sending light to the heart chakra, the soul of the person, but it seemed that the soul could not receive any more light, frequency, or energy. It was very powerful experience. It was a very powerful experience for me. Then I understood that this substance is in fact used to detach the consciousness so that this consciousness can no longer interact through this body that it has in life. Where there is no more contact, no more frequency, no more light, no more energetic balance or spirit. Then I started to cry for that soul because it was something that touched me deeply. A very powerful experience. I didn't say anything to the person because I didn't know how to say it. And if they would have understood, he said, I didn't know how to say it, and if they would have understood. I realized that it is not only polluting the subtle bodies or the physical body, but it is something to do with our soul. The purpose is to damage and try to destroy contact with the consciousness. What Steiner said is exactly that. It is not just about damaging the immune system. So I want y'all to really think about what I just said here. This is a literal attack on the human soul. It is an attack that is designed to replace the God gene inside of those created and chosen by the Creator himself, where he stamped his name on every part of our cells, every part of our body. This has been a proven fact. Over 100 years ago, Rudolf Steiner warned of a diabolical plot to this right here, bite all of humanity. Bite all of humanity. State of the Nation. Craig Donaldson. 10 ways to detox from vaccine. Well, from this right here. 10 ways to detox from this right here. Deactivate nanotechnology and heal your DNA. I'm going to look into this. I'm going to look this person up and see what I can find on that. If there's a way to reverse this, which I've been told there isn't, but I'm going to look into it anyway. The practitioner treating the subject had a second session with them not long after. In their professional opinion, as a spiritual practitioner, a highly disturbing form of deterioration had set in. which they described in the following account. There has been another change, and again, deterioration, both in the severity and in the energy that their energy field transmits, but most importantly, there has been a very significant decrease in frequency. At the moment, he is not showing any physical symptoms on the physical body. As for the situation manifesting on the energetic level, and especially the soul, it has been confirmed that the soul has been expelled from the physical body. It is still bound by the so-called cord. Now, I want y'all to pay close attention here. But it confirms, because we're going to come back to this word here, cord. But it confirms that it no longer interacts with the physical, emotional, and mental body. There is no longer any kind of communication. The soul is no longer able to manage these three bodies to continue its process of incarnation and evolution, precisely because this contact has been broken. This concurs with a story that emerged from AstraZeneca's test on their trials, this right here, on the AstraZeneca's COVID-19 trials. AstraZeneca revealed details of its large coronavirus, right here, trials, the third in a wave of rare disclosures by drug companies under pressure to be more transparent about how they are testing products meant for human use. The release comes after a second, this right here, test volunteer developed neurological problems. This person that volunteered for this AstraZeneca test developed neurological problems. According to sources who claim to be familiar with the trials, the second volunteer suddenly announced after receiving his bang, he said, "They've killed God. I can't feel God anymore. My soul is dead." According to a spiritual teacher named Sandra Davis, who goes by the title The Mother, the longest an individual can survive once the soul leaves the body is a maximum of 2 months. There are various reasons for why a person's soul might choose to leave the subject's body, according to the Mother. One of these being that the actions of the person somehow seem so morally reprehensible and repugnant to the soul that it can no longer countenance being in the person's body, and so it takes flight. Obviously, in the case of this recipient, the soul is being quarantined so that it cannot communicate with the physical, emotional, or mental body of the subject. If the situation persists, the soul has no recourse but to abandon the body. This right here, the ultimate in biowarfare, psychological warfare, the global, this right here, the global this, bite. This global that program is one of the most advanced spiritual warfare programs ever envisioned in the war against humanity. From a more specific perspective, corrupt elements within our governments, along with government agencies controlled by the deep state, are using this right here as the supreme weapon of spiritual and psychological warfare, targeting individuals and populations who express the God gene, aka vesicular monoamine transporter, which is the VMAT2. This gene, as detailed by geneticist Dean Hammer in his book, The God Gene, How Faith is Hardwired into Our Genes, is what causes humans to have proclivities for spiritual awareness or mystical experiences. An eloquent spiritual explanation of this can be found in a podcast called Divine Image Destroyed, which details how mRNA, this right here, are designed to subvert the divine genetic code within humankind. What follows is what the author of the podcast, Christine Beardsworth, had to say about the series of messages she believes were divinely revealed about this right here. Miss Beardsworth titled her podcast appropriately, Divine Image Destroyed. Miss Beardsworth explains that on the Hal Turner show, they've killed God. I can't feel God. My soul is dead. AstraZeneca halts the trials after second volunteer develops neurological problems. These trials that were devised to delete the God gene. These right here, remember I'm being cryptic, these right here are devised to delete the God gene. The visual picture that the Holy Spirit was a wonderfully crafted place surrounded by a high wall. This amazing edifice was guarded day and night from intruders, and only the king and the carefully vetted attendants serving him was allowed access. Y'all, please read between the lines. Then one day, a very destructive device was smuggled into the palace using a trusted page boy, and the king was unaware that right within the throne room, the Holy Spirit has been speaking much to me about the forceful drive being perpetrated worldwide to introduce a purported medicine via a thing. Y'all see this? Into every human on the planet. I have received a number of dreams given revelation and understanding, and I feel I have to share these things in a series of posts. He started by showing me the whole scenario from God's point of view as he watches his beautiful creation being sabotaged. The enemy had positioned one of his henchmen. We can see the same scenario in the positioning of Haman right next to King Xerxes. Oblivious to the danger, Xerxes handed Haman his signet ring and gave him permission to announce the death decree, an account that can be found in Esther chapter 3, verse 8 to 8. The human cell nucleus is that wall palace. Let me read that again. The human cell nucleus is that wall palace that I just talked about. The human cell is created within the nucleus wall to protect the scroll of DNA within. Just like a wall is built around a palace to protect the rulers of a nation, these very important, unique documents, our DNA scrolls, are guarded from intruders. Nothing is allowed to breach the fortification, and only trusted messengers are allowed to enter or leave the sacred palace or place, which is like unto the Holy of Holies of the temple that is the human cell. Did y'all catch that? The Holy of Holies of the temple, that is the human cell. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. Where the DNA scroll is housed much like the Ark of the Covenant within the Holy of Holies. From within the nucleus, orders are issued by the DNA and carried by the messenger RNA through the nucleus wall to the Golgi apparatus, which is a protein making factory for strengthening and fortifying the body. No other substance can pass through that nucleus wall except human mRNA. It is regarded as a trusted herald for carrying and delivering the messages issued by the sovereign nucleus. A plant virologist once described the mRNA or messenger RNA as being like a shopping trolley. You can load whatever you want into it, and it will transport it to the intended destination, which works very efficiently when the human body is not interfered with. We have been perfectly and wonderfully made by our Creator. Messenger RNA compliantly and obediently carries the instructions issued by the unique DNA dwelling within the walled nucleus fortification. Psalms 139 and 14 says it best. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are marvelous, and my soul knows it very well. My burns were not hidden from you. I was made in secret and skillfully formed in the lowest parts of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed substance, and in your book or scroll all the days of my life were written and engraved before, listen carefully, and engraved. Remember, I just told you, his name is stamped on every cell in the nucleus. Every cell in your body is engraved with his name. Written and engraved before ever they took shape. As of yet, there were none of them. DNA coded with God's name, YHWH. Were you aware that every single strand of human DNA is marked with the name of God? Here is how. There are sulfide bonds holding together the two strands that make up the DNA. And these bonds occur after the 10th pair of nucleotides, again after the 5th pair, and then 6 pairs later, and then again 5 pairs later. The 10th letter of the Hebrew alphabet is Yod. The 5th letter is He. The 6th letter is Vav. Yo, Ha, Vav. Yod, He, Vav, He. Spells YHWH because V is also W or W or double V. God's name is inscribed on every living chromosome. Did you hear me? We were made in his image and sealed with his name. Every cell in our body is hallmarked. And it is this very divine hallmark that the enemy desires to obliterate by injecting loaded messenger RNA into our cells. One can sneak fragments of foreign enemy DNA through the carefully guarded nucleus walls and incorporate their contents into the scroll of DNA in which God encoded or genetic makeup, our genetic makeup. That's like pasting some pages of a counterfeit author's manual into the middle of a construction blueprint of divine origin. What is taking place is that the name of God written into the sulfide bond design of the DNA scroll is being eviscerated. It's being removed. God's name being erased from the sons of Adam by counterfeit mRNA. The divine scroll devised by God to create man in his image is being sabotaged. And from that moment of splicing onward, instead of instructions being released from the place to safeguard the life, health, and security of the body, the inserted counterfeit DNA fills the messenger RNA trolley with instructions from the Golgi, which is the counterfeit apparatus protein factory in the cell outside the nucleus throne room to start manufacturing enemy spike proteins. The proteins factory just follows orders. Whatever orders arrive from the headquarters are implemented from there and their own. Once the witch's brew or portion is injected into the body, every single throne room guarding the scroll signed with the name of the Creator within our cells is hacked and forced to issue instructions to manufacture weapons of death, which will not only kill us at some point, but also the people around us due to this thing called shedding of spiked proteins. It is a cleverly engineered coup. You know what a coup d'etat is, right? It is a cleverly engineered coup on a worldwide scale to overthrow the rulership of God over his creation. And who would you guess is behind this dastardly plot? Psalms chapter 2 verse 2 offers a pretty convincing explanation. The kings of the earth assume their places on the grand chessboard of creation, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break the bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. His word cords again. Let's look at this word cords. The word for band means bond, halter, or restraint. And it is these carefully placed sulfide bonds, spelling out YHWH's name, which are disrupted and broken asunder by the, you guessed it, this right here, content. Which are disrupted and broken asunder by the, this right here, content. The word cord in Hebrew also means entwined, rope, or thick boughs. Is the DNA not entwined like a rope? Really? Perhaps you can now see the plan of the kings of the earth, the global elite, who are banding together, lining up in battle array against God. The plan is to hijack his creation, destroy his image, remove his signature, and transform the human body into a genetically modified organism that is half human, half computer, which is hackable and can be controlled externally. Hence, nanotechnology. WEF has even announced that the idea that humans have a soul is outdated, and that we are nothing more than hackable animals who can be genetically and technology, you know what I'm trying to say, enhanced by our technocratic masters. It sounds like a science fiction film or novel, but that's what's taking place right in front of your eyes. Lucifer reviles all those made in God's image, every earthen vessel designed to house the spirit and meant to receive regular communications from God's messengers, angels, and spirits in heaven. For eons of time, he has set about defiling the bodies and souls of men by luring them into sin of every description. However, he has been biding his time in order to undertake his greatest ambition, which is to occupy the place intended only for God in the human body. Y'all got to really understand what that means. That means this temple that we've been under the impression that the abomination of the desolation was set. It's not the building. It's not a building made by hands. If it's not a building made by hands, then what's left? The body. Your body is considered a temple, and it was not made by hands. The throne room where the nucleus and DNA scrolls are housed, these right here, this, are devised to delete that gene, the God gene. Many are waiting for the temple to be built so that the Antichrist can go and sit in it. But the body of the anointed is the third temple. It is you. You are the third temple, a temple not built with hands. And the diabolical deception currently underway is the first step in the rollout of the gene plan to install the abomination that causes desolations right within the holy place of the third temple, the human body. Did y'all get that? In the holy place, the place where the unique engraved scroll of your Creator is stored in a walled citadel, the enemy has already raised his battle cry. How apropos the message of Psalms 74 is, which states, direct your feet quickly to the perpetual ruins of desolations. The foe has devastated and desecrated everything in the sanctuary, in the midst of your holy place. Where is your holy place? It is in your temple. Where is your temple? It is your body. Your enemies have roared with their battle cry. They have set up their own emblems for signs of victory. They seem like men who lifted up axes on a thicket of trees to make themselves a record. And then all the carved wood of the holy place. They broke down the hatchets and hammers. They have set your sanctuary on fire. They have profaned the dwelling place of your name by casting it to the ground. O God, how long is your adversary to scoff and reproach? Is the enemy to blaspheme and revile your name forever? Why do you hold back your hand, even your right hand? Draw it out of your bosom and consume him and make an end of him. They have profaned the dwelling place of God's name in your body. All of these people who have been bitten by that serpent, we're talking cryptic. Think about what I'm saying. All of you that have been bitten by this serpent, you have been profaned. That is the holy place where God's name was put. It wasn't a building built by the hands of man. It was a building that was built without hands. They have profaned the dwelling place of your name. There is no more apt description for what is being done to the human body worldwide than these words. And if every nation believers are being coerced into taking the supposed health-inducing right here, which is like unto a poisoned sword. Is this not causing the great apostasy described in Psalms chapter 2? The totality of the scheme is to leave the third temple raped and pillaged. The third temple, again, my people, it is your body. That is where he placed his name. Every cell in your body is stamped with his YHWH. It is the God gene. That is what this serum from the snake bite is removing. Once it's removed, you are not the creation of the Creator anymore. You are a new creation, and you don't belong to him. So therefore, there is no interest into the kingdom for you. He don't recognize you. You are not his creation. The totality of the scheme is to leave the third temple raped and pillaged, conquered and subjugated by an ancient enemy who always coveted God's throne and the worship of those created in his image. In conclusion, Bill Beesworth states, apostasy, the Greek for falling away, means defection from truth, which means to separate. The writing of divorcement. How significant that a fragment of DNA writing is what separates or breaks asunder the record of God's name in the human DNA. Now, obviously, the smuggling in of the death warrant to God and his divine throne room involves deception and subterfuge. No one would allow such an intrusion if it was advertised by its true content. The coup is enacted under the guise of the delivery of a basket of wishes for health and happiness. It's the disguise. As you read the selected verse, remember that the Greek word translated as sorcery is pharmakia, the word from which we get pharmacy or dispenser of medicine. For by your sorceries all nations were deceived. In fact, it is pharmaceutical deceptions which are employed to pull the wool over the eyes of all the nations. A strong delusion is released so that a people believe a lie. The Greek for delusion comes from the root word meaning deceiver or imposter, science or pseudoscientific, witchcraft. Hence, the recurring theme is deception, which brings destruction. Pharmakia actually means witchcraft and comes from a root word meaning drug or poisoner. Poison is intended to induce the death of the victim. The word tells us that the life is in the blood. Where are your cells? They're in the blood. Your blood is your soul. If you contaminate that blood, you contaminate that soul. Without a soul, you no longer have any connection to your true creator. It is surely no coincidence that the foreign spike proteins that the human body is forced to produce after it is hijacked induce the blood clots, which in turn cause fatal heart attacks and strokes. It is Lucifer who seeks to kill, steal, and destroy. Lucifer desires to remove God's image and replace it with his image. Ask yourself, who else could be behind this erasing of God's name in your DNA scroll? Hosea chapter 4 verse 6 states, his people will perish for the lack of knowledge. Many pastors and religious leaders worldwide are urging their religious followers to receive the pharmakia being offered. That is why I am presenting this article. It is to arm people with the knowledge they need to defend themselves. Keep your temple clean. Keep your temple holy, and do not allow it to be desecrated. The cell is like a temple, and the nucleus contained behind its wall like the Holy of Holies, where the Ark of the Covenant is housed. The ark and the human cell being our unique DNA scroll. We should cherish the name of YHWH encoded in the scroll of life within us. We should do all we can to boost our divinely built immune systems naturally. We must not allow ourselves to be deceived by the pharmakia poison masquerading as medicine we are being tempted with. We should love and seek the truth, for we have been told it would set us free. Those of you who do not love the truth, who will fall prey to the serpent of delusion, coiling itself around the globe. Do not succumb to those who promote evil and duplicitous statements and lies as the means of your salvation, while they plot to implant the abomination that makes desolation within our holy place. What agreement does the temple of God have with idols? For you is the temple. For you are the temple of the living God. And as God has said, I will dwell in them and walk among them. I will be their God, and they shall be my people. Therefore come out from among them and be separated, says the Lord, and do not touch the unclean thing, and I will receive you. And I will be a father to you, and you shall be my sons and daughters, says the Lord Almighty. Miss Beesworth makes another highly pertinent observation when she states the word for unclean thing is akathartos, meaning foul, unclean, and demonic. While the government argues it is interested in neutralizing terrorists who act on their religious fanaticism, one of the more important goals of those behind the global this right here program is to undermine all God responsive spirituality through the deletion of the God gene. The COVID-19 pharmakia desecrates the body temple. Another way, this right here and the PCR test are being used to suppress the spiritual potential of mankind is by targeting the pineal and pituitary glands. In addition to production and regulation of critical hormones within the body, these glands, particularly the pineal gland, serves as an important role. The pineal gland serves as an important role in expressing our spiritual intuitions. It has been found that DARPA, hydrogel, and lithium, both highly toxic to the pineal gland, as well as graphene oxide, all contained in this right here. It's all in this right here. That's the venom. That's the snake venom. Have an effect on the pituitary and pineal glands, the latter of which has been found to have its own electromagnetic field. Aluminum and mercury, widely found in all these right here. I'm not allowed to say this, so I'm being cryptic. Aluminum and mercury, widely found in all these right here snake bites, are also highly damaging to the pineal gland, which in turn has a detrimental effect on our spirituality as a species. There are numerous stories from around the world of how these snake bites essentially cause spiritual euthanasia. The Hacking phrase is misery loves company. Hackened or not, its frequent use shows there is much currency in the phrase. The Luciferian cabal would not be engaged in these machinations were it not to make us more like them. Y'all get that? The Luciferian cabal would not be engaged in these machinations were it not to make us more like them. They want us to be without scruples, without a God. These right here is devised to delete the God gene. Spearman T. devised to delete the God gene or conscience. They want to change our DNA so that the God gene is deleted by a snake bite, intended to inoculate all humankind against spirituality or contemplation of higher spiritual realms, particularly God. What else would a Luciferian plotter aim for but to inoculate a population against thinking of God in any form? The fallen angel has, after all, always been represented as having the sin of pride, being envious of God's powers, a sin for which he was cast out of heaven. This right here, gene therapy, terminator, gene technology, it appears that in this showdown between the forces of good and evil, there is an attempt to entrap the sons and daughters of Adam and Eve in an end game for the end times in which human generations are terminated by terminator gene technology, intended to eradicate our kind from the earth. Oh, we will go on, though probably in significantly diminished numbers. But if the globalists get their way, as a consequence of too many willing dupes and collaborators going along with their program, we may soon be getting the VMAT2 God gene deleting RNA, this right here. And if we do, it will be the end of us Homo sapiens. If the Luciferians get their wish, we will become Homo psychopathicus, not an evolutionary advance, but a devolution, downgrade, degeneration into a morally retarded creature suffering from spiritually arrested development. It is a story fate and not one to be envied, but it is perhaps the consequence of turning away from our Creator and relying too much on God-denying science. As God says, I will dwell in them and walk. Listen, I will dwell in them. That is your cells. That is your genetics. That is your blood cells. That is that stamp, YHWH. That is what he's telling you. I will dwell. I will put my name in them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. Therefore come out from among them and be separated, says the Lord, and do not touch the unclean thing, and I will receive you. And I will be a father to you, and you shall be my sons and daughters, says the Almighty. So in closing, Jeremiah 51, verse 6 through 7. Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his own soul. Don't be cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore the nations are mad. Shalom.